Hello, and welcome to the continuation of the previous video of me just drawing out my OCs. The first part, I was just sketching, and now I'm rendering Deion. So I remember I said I had a few problems with the way he looked. I'm not great at anatomy. I'm worse at male anatomy. I had a hard time drawing him, and I tried to fix it this time. I don't know if I really fixed it. I think at first I felt like I fixed it, and then I think I made him worse. He looked better in the sketch, in my personal opinion, versus how he ends up. But that's fine. That's life. I ended up just making his head a bit smaller and his body a bit bigger to try and even out the proportions a bit. I don't know if that was the right move, but it was the move that I made. Here, for the most part, I stick to rendering his face in this video. And then when I'm running out of things to do with his face or I get tired, then I move to the body. But the body was the part that I had the most troubles with. The hair was the most fun to do. I kind of do a few of his dreads at a time, and then I jump around between his hair and his face. So, yeah. Here, I guess I'm just trying to look at the overall picture, trying to zoom out and compare it to what I originally had with this sketch versus how I resized him a bit. So the technique that I ended up using to color his hair pretty simple. I already had the blocked out colors from the sketch, so I was just kind of picking the different colors, the different transitionary colors, I guess, and kind of drawing them back and forth into the different areas. So I take like the lightest color, kind of do a few strokes of it into like the mid-tone, and then I take the mid-tone color, do a few strokes of it into the darker part, and take the darker part and kind of go back with it. And then on top of it, to make the strokes not look too harsh, to make them look a little nicer, I would just take the airbrush and airbrush the color over top of specific parts.
so much to the poltergeist. Trying to hold on to love, but it's frost and ice time. Much but a light from a falling sky. Fly to the forces above us like. Keep holding on to this present time. Inspired by the ones that were left behind us. We fell for the light of a foreign sky. Flying to the forces above this life. So much to the poltergeist. Trying to hold on to love, but it's frost and ice time. Much but a light from a falling sky. Fly to the forces above us like. Keep holding on to this present time. Inspired by the ones that were left behind us.
Here I'm just starting to draw the eye. His other eye, finally. I was kind of avoiding it because I was definitely having troubles with it. The angle of it was a bit weird and I wasn't used to it. Probably should have pulled up more references, but I didn't. So that's on me. But yeah, here I'm finally starting to actually try and clean up the body area. I didn't really do too much with it for the most part. Just kind of adding the shadows and the light and getting rid of the sketchy lines. Same thing with his arm, just kind of lining it a bit as well. When I look at how I rendered Deion, I kind of switch between thinking that it's not that great to thinking that like I did an okay job. I'm not sure, to be honest. Definitely need more practice, just drawing in general, but also like anatomy and like changing up perspective and angle of things. Just what I'm trying to push myself to do. But yeah, that eye there looks weird for a while, and I keep trying to change it, and it keeps just looking weird. I think later on I try and put a little less, try to put less focus on it, kind of distract from how it looks. But I just have an overall hard time with his face shape here. Definitely one of the things that I'm pretty sad that I lost within the sketch, because the sketch of it just looks so much better in my opinion. It wasn't perfect, but it just felt more natural. But I definitely think part of it is that I spent so much time kind of adding in just random details and brush strokes, and I just kept going in on his face because I was trying to avoid, I guess, drawing the rest of him. And his hair, I got it done pretty quickly. It was the easiest, most fun part to do, so I couldn't really go back and do much with that, so I just kept heading straight towards the face every single time. That's fine. You live and you learn. I definitely want to continue trying to do more studies and just sketching and loosening up and just more practice overall. Yeah, so I'm just finishing up the last couple of dreads. I really like how his hair came out. I think I probably could have planned the shape out a little bit better, but that's fine because I really like how the colors especially look and how I added in the texture. It's so much fun to do his hair. I remember I would have so much troubles with it, mainly because of the shape, but sometimes I'd have a hard time trying to figure out how to make it look right, how to make it look like dreads rather than like I just drew weird clumps of hair, but also add my own kind of stylization to it. And I think I learned definitely that I prefer the method of kind of doing the strokes back and forth, and I think adding the airbrush when it feels a little too harsh to soften it, to soften the transitions, helps a lot. I find it looks really nice, and I feel like I've definitely kind of perfected the color choices. When I first drew him, I remember I wanted him to have a lot of red undertones, but I would always kind of push it too far, and just him in general, the way how I colored him looked weird. Like everything was like overly saturated variants of red. It wasn't supposed to look like that, and I had a hard time kind of doing his blonde tips because I kept trying to add reddish undertones everywhere, and it would make it kind of look either orange or just straight up red, the tips. And then if I tried to make it less reddish, then it didn't go with the rest of the colors because everything else was so red, and the kind of yellowish, desaturated color that I try and choose would look really weird. But I've gotten better with colors in general, and I definitely think that I'm kind of perfecting all of their palettes a bit. I think in terms of color palettes, Young, and I don't know if you could hear that in the background, that's just compost. They're taking out compost. But yeah, definitely Young and 𝐒𝐫𝐴, I think, can be a little bit harder with the color just because they have a lot, especially Young, because he has different colored body parts, and I also want to incorporate that kind of off color and stitch together kind of look into his clothing. And I would choose just random colors that didn't really work, but I've definitely gotten better, I think, with choosing colors for him as well. But I'll go over 𝐒𝐵L and Young more when I draw them. I'm probably going to draw Young next. Over here I had trouble putting his hand in his pocket. I have a hard time drawing hands. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that in the last video, and I'm mentioning it again here because hands are the bane of my existence. I feel like they only exist just to spite beginner artists. I don't know if I'm super beginner. I'm definitely not the most professional or intermediate, but it with a lot of the things I still have troubles with, I do still kind of feel beginner, but I've definitely progressed a lot from some of my first artwork. I could probably compare maybe compare a picture of Deion right here. Let's see if I'll do that, just from old to new art. But yeah, I also tried to draw his shoes. I also have a hard time with feet and shoes also are hard for me. I think I'm getting a little bit better at making them look like something. But yeah, that's it for the footage of me coloring Deion. I think I'm gonna go back and go over him a bit more, but I just felt like I wasn't really doing much for the picture at that point. It just looked weird and I didn't know how to fix it. I don't know if I'll fix it before I continue on to coloring Young, or if I'll try and fix it afterwards. There is kind of a gap in between when I actually recorded me drawing that and when I'm finishing up making the video now. So the way how I color Young and Abrielle, if I do them in a kind of similar time period, at least they can look similar. But my coloring style might change a bit, so I might try and fix up Deion. Probably at the end, I think would be best. But yeah, that's the end. Gonna put out the video for Young hopefully soon, within like the next week or two. You could like, subscribe if you want. If not, that's cool. Okay, peace, bye.